As we all know, laboratory equipment is notoriously expensive to buy, but if you put your mind to it, then quite a lot of things you can actually make yourself. This is a sketch that I just drew in bed, I think. Just came into my mind. I thought, oh, I need a vacuum filter to speed up my filter process. So that's the sketch. Now I'll just go and show you the real thing. So this is my setup coming on from that sketch. Just any old vacuum cleaner, like a garage sale type vacuum cleaner, as long as it sort of works. This is the one I usually use for vacuuming the cars. And it's good to be able to still have some sort of hole like that. I've been able to keep the original suction variation. So it's great to be able to have that, and just somehow get it to be able to connect to these. I'll see if I can get my finger in the shot there. Just try and any old garden fittings. These are ones I just happen to have laying around, and I've just come across to a little elbow here. And this is the main thing that makes it work, is this container. It looks pretty specky, but that was like $2.50 at the local dollar type store. And just make sure it's got a metal lid, I think. It doesn't have to be metal, but it will be stronger. And these are a couple of garden fittings that I had to drill a hole in the top and just with the drill bit just ream it round circles till it was about the right size. And that's a little collar on this one here. So on the other side of that I just bought a little fitting that I've only got two hands, so I can't really take it apart and show you. Maybe I'll have it apart when I show you how to set it all up, if I can have this camera freestanding. Anyway, so I just basically so that sandwich the fittings into the hole in the lid so it seals tight, and obviously it's great to have a seal on the inside of that lid so it all seals. And so the idea is the vacuum cleaner creates a vacuum in here, obviously, and that will suck the liquid down out of your filter arrangement up here. And so what I'm using for my filter is just a soft drink bottle with the bottom cut out of it, and I put a garden fitting. You don't need one with a tap, but I have got one with a tap here, and just to be able to jam it in a hole in the bottom of the lid. You can get little garden rubber grommets that go with these taps, and so I've just got a little rubber grommet in there, and that seems to seal fairly well. And again, all this is held together with just little bits of garden tubing just pressed over it. That blue thing in there is a little cap. It's important to have a cap in there so that your filter wadding doesn't jam up in the neck. And I've got a hole drilled in the bottom of that cap as well. And I'm using it that way up because it's got little ridges so it doesn't seal itself shut. And I've just got a little like yogurt lid on the top so stuff doesn't accidentally fall in there. So this is the kind of stuff that we use. So some, see if I can get my finger in the shot again. Yeah, some coarse kind of kitchen tissue paper and finer facial tissue paper, and another soft drink bottle, a smaller one with the bottom cut out of it again. I use these kind of things like funnels, and this is the example of what I'll be using here. Just a flask with some dirty water in it, some sand and some gear. And the idea, one thing you do have to remember is that the amount of fluid that you put in your filter here shouldn't really exceed the amount that's in here, particularly if you're not going to watch it. So just be sure that you know how much is in there and measure it in a small jug or something when you're putting it in here, so that you can go away and leave it. You can always filter stuff in 2 batches. And sometimes I'll filter it a number of times. I'll filter it the first time, and then I'll tip it back in the filter again. And you generally find that when you're doing some types of filtration, that the filter gets finer because it clogs up, and as it clogs up it becomes a more efficient filter in terms of the cleanness of the liquid that you're getting out of it. So sometimes your second or your third time through is working, is getting a clearer solution. So sometimes I'll do that 2 or 3 times. and it takes a little bit longer, of course, but that's the whole point of being able to vacuum it, so it does it quicker. So I'll just try and mount this up and show you how we do this. Hi there, alright, I'll try and talk our way through this. I might make a few mistakes, so we'll be trying to do this very quickly. So I'll just take it apart and show you a little bit. Alright, so you can see I've just used some collars to actually hold all that together underneath. And that's my seal container. It seals up nice and tight like that. Okay, so the filter part's the most important part. So I've got my little cap in here with a little hole in it. So I'll drop that in there. And I'll just set it there for a moment. So I grab 2 or 3 tissues and kind of pack that down fairly tight in the bottom there. So that's your finer filter. Pack that in like that, and I'll just get another piece just to lay out on the top. So I folded quite a large tissue in half, and I'll lay that out reasonably flat on top, like so. And get this coarser one, a couple of sheets like that, fold it over, and again just lay it down on top. Now this one's a larger sheet, so it'll fold up the sides a little bit, and I'll try and get it fairly even, so it's more like a upside down cup. Pack that down like that. And get a couple more sheets. Now a couple of sheets like this will, sometimes depending on how much liquid I've got, I'll fold a third of it or so down like this. And wrap it around the funnel like this, and then feed it down inside the cup that you've made, like so. Now I usually have a screwdriver with me just to pad all that out. Just make sure it's up against the sides like that. Screw it down. Make sure you've got a washer or rubber washer or something inside there. In my case, the grommet that I used with the tap was the right size to use as a washer as well, so it's big enough on the inside. Okay, so now we're done. If I was taking a little bit more time, I'd seal that out. So here's my nice dirty mix. Pour that in there. Now it won't run up the sides immediately if you're holding it down a little bit. A bit of a swirl. Okay, and if you just try and pour it in as well, it'll dislodge everything. But if you do it inside like this, then everything will pack out quite neat like that. Just got a piece of duct tape, hold everything in place like that. Put the lid on, like so. Now that's all sealed up. I've already got some fluid flowing through there as it is. Normally I'll have the vacuum on just as much as it needs to be. You don't want to overexcite the vacuum. And I'll just get it going and then just see if I can zoom in on that with you to see how it looks. I did say it's an old vacuum cleaner. Here we go. my containers are... It's going to be a little bit hard to see how clean it is, but should have had a separate container. There we go. Alright. I can see you can get the general idea. Okay, that's how it works.